What's up, everybody? It is Odin here. It is Sunday once again, meaning another update video forthcoming. So news and things to discuss as I bring you all of the all the news from around the globe, which is funny because now that is actually a true phrase. As it was announced last night that Skunk Artworks is partner number 3, the trifecta between James, myself, and now Skunk Artworks, covering 3 countries on 2 continents. It's pretty cool. James in Canada, me in the United States, and Skunk Artworks over there in Germany, Deutschland. Which was super cool. Extremely talented individual. Very creative, intelligent, a treasure of a human, as I often say, because he is he knows his value, but he's also extremely humble. And I think it's kind of the best of both worlds when you got that. So welcome to the club. That is news from around the globe. Like I said, 3 countries and 2 continents. It's pretty cool. That was announced last night when we did the Unconditional Shove closeout stream, which was a lot of fun. Hosted on the Broken Compass Entertainment, as we call ourselves now. Broken Compass Entertainment channel. James, it was his channel before we met, and he's a good host. He doesn't think he is, but he's a good host, and it was really fun. And we closed it out. I mean, the campaign's still in demand, technically, but we closed it out and sent the email for them to end it. So if you wanted to jump in last minute, you still have a chance. But what was really cool was there were so many people that did just that. They jumped in at the last minute. I don't know if they did it on purpose or if they just went, yeah, I got to do this while I got my chance, which, that's what I've been telling everyone. But it's always humbling. I mean, we went over 100 backers now, and just to know that 100 people believed so much in what I was doing that they wanted to purchase their copy, and that's one of those things that you stop and think about. You're working so hard on all this stuff, and you're promoting and trying to tell people, yeah, you ought to buy it, and then when you sit down and reflect on it, it's like these people actually wanted it, because crowdfunding a book is more expensive. We're hoping, we know we'll get our costs down, so the next go around won't be as expensive, but we had to do what we had to do, and people were still excited and threw down, and I appreciate that so much. It just warms my heart to think that people wanted it. And we went from right around 4,800 to 5,120 to end the night, and yeah, there was several people like just swooping in at the last minute and securing their copy and making me feel awesome. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun hanging out. Some friends showed up, and then, like I said, lots of friends showed up that in the backing of the book. So I'm very happy about that. And now is the next step, which is like nobody's favorite part, except for that I'll receive a physical copies, which that's gonna be awesome. But get it printed and get it shipped out to all you awesome people who backed. I mean, blows my mind. But it was really cool to see it hit those 2 thresholds. It was like so close to $5,000, and it was so close to 100 backers. And then once we rolled both of those over on that same night, last night, it was a wonderful feeling. And I mean, anyone who's done it knows, but I can't overstate it. Like I spent so much time drawing these pages. Drawing pages takes a long time, especially when you're kind of working out how to do it on the fly as well. Learning on the fly. it takes even longer because you're not so natural with it that you just instinctively know and start doing. You try to plan it a little more. Certainly, I'm sure I made a lot of like mistakes, storytelling mistakes that comic book artists aren't supposed to do, or bad panel layouts or something. I'm sure there's that stuff. But nonetheless, I can look at the full book and be very proud of it. It looks good. And a big part of why it looks so good was James put in so much freaking work. Like, the lettering on this took on an art of its own, and it's almost like mastering of music, or mixing and mastering. Like, you record good stuff, and you're like, it all sounds good, but it's not cohesive. It's just kind of like there. And then a good mix helps that all, like, go together properly, and then a good master really just compresses it into one solitary thing, a song, And that is really what James did with the lettering. And then he added some very strong editorial help in some of the storytelling and story itself. Some good ideas that we're able to do, and I was like, well, let's do it, So he had a really big hand in it, and I can't thank him enough for his hard work on this book, because he did work his ass off. Mine was working my ass off, but it was a lot more stretched out. He did a lot in a short amount of time. And really, when I see it now, like, it does feel like something I can be very proud of. And that was what James told me that he wanted to add, was like anything he could do to make it better and cooler. And the lettering is cool. It it adds to the whole effect. And then he did a lot of like pre-press and things like that too, that just added a lot. So anyway, thank you, brother James. It's been an awesome pleasure getting to know him and building this company together and working on projects together. We're just trying to make cool shit. So I was watching this documentary. Well, I watched two documentaries, both about comic book, say universes, but publishing companies or startups. The first one I watched was all about Image Comics, which I was there at that time, but I've watched a few, but it's always very interesting. I mean, these guys were they did something very unprecedented, and it definitely changed the outlook of comics from then on, and certainly like changed everything in the moment. But seeing the pitfalls and some of the mistakes, I'm just trying to like get a little more inside baseball and behind the scenes, and I've seen several about Image, and I've always heard and read about it, but it was still really good to kind of think about it, because as we were growing, adding skunk artworks to the fold, I'm like, okay, let's look at like history and think about publishing and independent comics and upstarts. I mean, obviously nothing like Image, but it's like still you can glean some insight from what they did right and what they did wrong. And then I watched one about 2000 AD, which I found that one way more compelling, because their stuff, especially in the early days, was so groundbreaking and fucking badass. And as I was watching it, I'm like, that seems to be the more parallel to what we're doing. In as far as like, we like telling like crazy ass stories. This is what we're trying to do, is like make everything intense and kind of like out intense other people. Other people want to make superhero books or kind of tell the story that's been at least in a general way, the story that's older than time, like a hero story. And we just kind of want to like make crazy stuff, like compelling and fun and exciting, but definitely off the chain kind of feel. And even with Shove, where it's at, Volume 1, I'm like, I want to up the ante. And I want to up the ante on my art style. That was another thing. Watching, well, both the Image and the 2000 AD. Like, you know, some of these artists, I'm just like, a long way to go. You know, I can art. I can draw pretty well. But, you know, like, there's things, I'll see images, I'm like, why am I not making that kind of image? You know what I mean? So we're getting there. Well, let's see, what else could we talk about? So the unconditional shove, that was a big thing. It's hard to explain. It's kind of an emotional, an interesting emotional feeling. Like, it's not as present and real as it's going to be when I'm actually holding a physical copy, but it has a very strong emotional, to just be like, the campaign's over. As far as crowdfunding, that's it. All the artwork's done, all the lettering's done, everything's there. We just have to print it and ship it, which, again, least favorite parts. But then I'll have physical copy in hand, and that's gonna be a moment. But yeah, there's just a real final sense to it. Now, I wasn't promoting it as heavily towards the end, and anyway, everyone knows that. Like, anyone who knows anything knows I wasn't really pushing it that much. We kind of went full tilt on, like, promoting Kill Them Dead because we really want this one. This is the next in the queue. Like, we want it to take off. But that said, you know, I'm working on, you can see here, it's a finished page from Shove Volume 2. And I want to get, you know, back in the saddle. Like, I haven't drawn a lot lately. And I want to get back to that urgency that I had with Shove Volume 1. Because it's going to take it, because it's a lot of work. It takes lots of time to draw. So, but I was very busy. Like, getting everything with Shove finished and ready. That's the most recent thing that was occupying my attention. But last video I talked about, you know, officiating a wedding and laying down vocal tracks for the Kill Them Dead stuff, which I should have, you know, I used this analogy earlier, but I should have mixed and mastered music here soon. And then we're going to go ahead and start sending those out to people who signed up on Indiegogo, because I'm going to plant that seed. I want you to hear what we're doing and know we're not fucking around. Like, it's good stuff. It's definitely good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, I hung out with him the other night before the launch on his show D's Nuts. That was a lot of fun. Just goofing around. So I don't know what his plans is for that show, but typically hang out with him and Justin Belmont on the Man Cave on Thursday nights, and that's always a lot of fun too. Let's see, what else? Well, Kill Them Dead. Skunk is destroying these pages, but we've been seeing more from Dimitri of the pencils. He just shared a full page recently. The gauntlet has been thrown. The ante has been upped. Like, he is he's not fucking around, man. That page, and this is like going in, like, the story just builds in intensity. And I'm like, dude, you're setting the bar, and it just keeps going up. So, you know, I would never tell any of these guys to pace themselves. That's not what this book's about. But it just makes me giddy to think of where it's going. You know, as I'm writing it with James, I say it in my head quite often. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to draw. Like, I would love to draw it. Like, everything about it would be fun to draw, but there's so much going on, and it's so condensed. Yeah. Anyway, so excitement around that, and the music is coming along. And then we have a flyer. Skunk made this. The guy is too friggin' good. There's just too much talent in that man. Made the coolest flyer for Kill Them Dead. It's basically 4 characters. You know, central character, the Husk, and it's got 80s. And then, what were the other characters? can't remember offhand if it was like Charon or. But anyway, they're all split up in a really fractured, cool way, like each character has their own panel almost. And it was all black and white, but it's so freaking intense. I wouldn't even want him to color it. He drew it black and white, but that is a poster flyer that we're going to be plastering everywhere in all our hometowns. And anybody out there, if you want to be part of the street team, just let me know. We'll get you the copy of that flyer. Print it out as often as you want. Throw it up. Share it everywhere you go. We just that's going to be a ground level try to market, and then we've got other things in the works for more internet web marketing. But there is something about that ground level marketing. Get them into like comic book stores and record shops, and the image sells. It's very intriguing. People are gonna walk by and go like, "What the fuck is that? I got to read this," and then read about it, and then they'll think about it. There's a QR code there, and they'll go, and boom, they're at the sign up page. And if they get that far and they put their email in, they're going to get a track to listen to taste, to get that seed planted. Like they just get a taste, but that seed will germinate in their belly. And before you know it, they're addicted. The Pusher Man. That's us. Anyway, very excited about that. And like I said, I haven't been drawing too much. I was working on this. I could share it a little bit. It's just a winged lady. Big old wings. It's hard to see because of the pencils, but I was starting to ink on it. But that was just something I was noodling on today because I hadn't drawn in a long time. And those pencils were there, and I pulled it out to show somebody the other day, and I was like, I should finally get around to inking that someday. So working on that. Then I have the page after this is fully penciled. I just haven't had that oomph to get back down to it. But this is page 4 of a story. Page 5 fully penciled, and it'll be a 12-page story. So get close with that one, and that's going in Shove Volume 2. Anywho, yeah, that's about where we're at. I'm trying to think of. Today was the hottest day of the year. It's freaking hot. It wasn't 100 degrees, but when you look at your phone and you see the weather thing, and it says 98 degrees, and then it says real feel 102 or 104 or whatever it said. I'm like, if it feels 104, that's what it is. There was a comedian did a bit about that, but that's true. I'm like, so it didn't technically go into triple digits, but real feel was triple digits, which to me means we were over 100 today. And I had a lot of stuff to do. I didn't do anything outside. Fuck that. But a lot of stuff to do inside. But even with the fans running and the AC going, the AC is only in the living room area, and it doesn't even get back here. So this is where I do all my stuff. So. Anywho, that's like just me whining. Let's talk about Red Dwarf. We're on to season 1, episode 3. Now there isn't a ton to talk about on this episode. So I talked a lot last time about. Last episode was Future Echoes, and that was all dealing with this space phenomenon called Future Echoes. It was because they were going in light speed or faster than light speed or whatever, and like basically time was happening in more. Their experience of time was not where time actually was. Whatever malarkey, smeg that was going on. So they were seeing bits of the future while in the present, and I like that. I like that the show does that, the space phenomena. This episode has no space phenomena to speak of. It really is just highlighting the personality traits and the setting of where they're at 3 million years in the future, alone on this ship. Um, but that said, it's a very good episode for that, because all of the comedy is based off their personalities, and then all the driving force of the show is the situation and the space phenomena that they deal with, and that's the show in a nutshell. But the relationship between the characters is where all the comedy comes from and where all the endearment comes from. I mean, that's typical for any writing, but like, so the first season was a lot of that, like really driving it home, the odd couple elements of Rimmer and Lister, and then throwing in the monkey wrench of Holly, the computer, and Cat. The cat. He doesn't have a name, he's just Cat. Like, isn't that weird? They never give him a name. I always found that weird. So yeah, and I've got this on a very fast speed, so I'll try to get through it. Our great intro again, the ship flying, looking at the underbelly. Balance of power. So in this episode, it was basically just a struggle. And that's what I call it, balance of power. It's a struggle between the hierarchy, the pecking order of the ship. So basically, Rimmer and Lister, more or less, the two lowest ranking on the entire ship. And now they are the only ones alive. But Rimmer, the hologram, is ranked just slightly higher than Lister. And I think it's mostly just for seniority. As such, he makes him do tedious work like this, which gives him a sense of purpose and really, a sense of control and power. So what they're doing is taking inventory. They're just saying, we have this, we have that. And he's like, there's no one else on this ship. Why are we doing this? Why can't we just go have a laugh and have fun and mess around, So while Rimmer is proper and says, no, we still follow protocol, we still have a job to do, Lister's like, there's no fucking job to do, there's no one on the ship, we're just going back to Earth, and, why bother? And Rimmer controls Lister's cigarette rations. So there he's making him only have half a cigarette. But he's basically just being a complete power-hungry smeghead. He's never had any authority to speak of for the most part, so any little bit he can wield, he'll use it. And in this scene, Lister's asking Holly, the ship's computer, why you brought Rimmer back. Why would you bring Rimmer back? And Holly's answer is, you had the most, or you spent the most time together, you knew him better than anybody else on the ship. And he's basically saying, that doesn't matter, we hate each other, But he does mention Chrissy Kachansky. And Kachansky is something to be mentioned for the purposes of the entire show. She is I don't want to say she's a MacGuffin, but she is a driving force inside Lister to keep him going, even though she's gone. But he pines for her. It was a woman. They retcon it later. They changed the story. But for the first several seasons, she was a woman that was on the ship that he had a crush on, but he never did anything more than just talk to her a few times. Slightly hit on her, but never asked her out, blah, blah, blah. And then he always regretted it. So he's saying, Holly, why didn't you bring back Lister? So this is a flashback scene. There's Chrissy Kachansky. And you also get to see Lister's drinking buddies. Jen, Peterson, and Sylvie. Olaf Peterson, is probably the one referenced the most. And you may recognize him if you see him as he was Ron Weasley's dad on Harry Potter. I think he was in a few other English, British things too, but that was Lister's life. He worked, and then they just fucking drank all the time, and Rimmer was a proper, teacher's pet type personality. So they're always at odds in every which way. But this is Lister having a flashback of back when he was enjoying having people around and the fun they used to have, and now they're all gone. So that's the setup. What ends up happening is that Lister realizes he can take the power back, so to speak. So the cat is only in here he's just in here for comic relief at moments. But you get to learn more about the cat and his catisms. So what he's done is he's found the supply of cigarettes, and that's what Rimmer lords over Lister. He says, I found all these shiny things, because apparently cigarette packs in the future look like foil wrapped. So he makes a deal, with Rimmer. He says, you got to put them back. He's like, they're mine. I cannot put them back. Rimmer says, I'll give you a fish. And he says, no, I'll give you 2. I'll give you 3. I'll give you all the fish you want. So basically, he teaches Cat how to use the food dispensing machines on the ship. And so now Cat, all he has to do is walk up and say, fish. And there's a scene where he collects and amasses many, many fish. I'll talk about that when we get there. But what ends up happening is Lister decides or realizes all he has to do is pass a test to become a higher ranking person on the ship, and he will outrank Rimmer and take the power back. And Rimmer assumes he's going to take an officer's test or an engineering test, but what he ends up doing is trying to become a chef, because apparently chef still outranks third technician, which is what they were. Third technician Rimmer. Which is funny, because I don't think a chef would ever outrank a third technician, but it's kind of like Married with Children, making fun of it being a shoe salesman all the time. It's like, there was an episode of Married with Children where she's like, why couldn't you have been a garbage man? Then I could have some dignity, So, let's see. So Lister threatens him, says, I'm going to pass these tests and become a higher ranking officer than you. Rimmer acts skeptical, but actually starts to worry. I want to see where the cat gets the fish. They also use this gag. Basically, there's issues with the hologrammatic projection where at times it gets screwy, and at this moment he gets Olaf Petersen's arm, and that arm actually has a life of its own. But it's way hairier, it's got tattoos, all this stuff. It's not Lister's arm. There we go, here's the fish scene. So he's been eating so many fish. It says, fish. Today's fish is trout a la creme. Fish. Today's fish is trout a la creme. And he just keeps doing it. I think he gets 6. Yes. In these early episodes, Cat was more cat-like. Like later, he just kind of became a ding-dong head. Like he was just there to be a dumbass. But I mean, he still had his catisms. But in these old episodes, it was a lot more cat-like. So yeah, apparently Olaf Petersen's arm has a mind of its own. It gives him the old Three Stooges eye gouge. This is a classic. It became a meme. Him like curled up on the floor saying, "I hate everything." And here we're introduced to the Scudders. They've been shown, but they've never really been highlighted. I can't remember their name. They did have names. One of them was Bob. But they're basically these minimalistic droids that are service droids just there to clean. They roll around on wheels, and then they've got this almost movable head that is actually somebody's hand inside there, mimicking their little fingers, which is what they grab with and all this stuff. The Scudders. So I hear Rimmer's giving him a hard time about how he's never going to pass. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's an idiot. And that's when he finally reveals, I'm just going to become a chef. I'm not trying to be an officer. So. But again, in this episode, there's no space phenomenon. Not a whole lot of even like spaceship phenomenon, which they'll use sometimes too. There's the cat with the big belly doing that Tom and Jerry thing. I ate too much fish. So Rimmer is also thinking about trying to, but he's tried and failed to pass his navigation officer's exam like 11 times, I think. So he's never going to pass. Cat ate too much fish. But this episode is, like I said, it's totally driven by the odd couple element, the relationship, the dynamic of their personalities. In this scene, Rimmer is trying to convince him that they're super good buddies and they've had all these great memories together. He's like, no, we hated each other. But he's doing anything he can. He's hand-wringing, like literally there, about the possibility of Rimmer passing the chef exam and becoming higher rank. Yeah, this one's all dialogue-driven, all character-driven, but it endears you to the actors and their portrayals of these characters. And they kept it the same actors the entire series. The same three. Now, Holly, Norman Lovett, the ship's computer, he does have a hiatus. Season 3, they bring in... what's her name? Hattenberg? I can't remember her real name. But she plays Holly, but she's a female version. And they explain it away in such a stupid way, but we'll cover that when we get there. So anyway, what ends up happening? Lister goes to take his chef exam. Rimmer, in a last-ditch effort, somehow, holograms can do this. He takes on the body of Chrissy Kachansky, as you can see there, if you could see it. It's small, I know. He takes on the body of Chrissy Kachansky, pretends to be her voice, her body, but it's Rimmer inside. And when Lister finally figures it out, he does a little clever ruse where he goes, so you don't remember when we made love that night? And then she goes, what? You never told me about that. And he says, well, I would think you would remember. And then she goes, oh yeah, that. I remember that. He goes, we never made love. Go away. Fuck off, Rimmer. But he does have a great line where he says, he's trying to make excuses. He's like, oh, I'm acting weird because I'm having a woman's period. I'm having a woman's period. There's some good jokes. And again, a lot of the humor is derived from, and always will be throughout the entire series, from their relationships. So as he switches back to his normal body, he's left with her tit. So he rather enjoys that. And her hips. And then the show ends with Lister getting his results, where he basically lies at the very end and says, I passed. Say, yes, Mr. Lister, sir. And then it turns out he didn't pass. And they just, next episode, like, never mind. That's kind of a common theme with this show. It's like they retcon a lot. And they kind of go, if we don't like something or it's not working in the future, just pretend it never happened. So there ends Balance of Power. Now it's not my favorite episode. It's really just a character driven, and it's funny, and there's good humor in it, and a lot of important setup for basically the entirety of the show going forward. So it's an important episode, but and it is funny, but it lacked the dynamics of having like that space phenomenon kind of drive in the narrative. So, but that said, good episode. Next one, I don't know what the next one is. I think it's Me Too, which I think it's the first season. There was a lot of that didn't have the space phenomenon as the vehicle for the episode, but it was important to set up all the character interactions. And I've kind of said this to people who I've turned them onto the show, is like season 1, like you appreciate it more after you've already fallen in love with it. Now it said is what sucked me in. Like I was a fan just watching season 1, but I think season 2 and season 3 they really start getting their legs for what the show is actually going to be like. But to this day, there's plenty of people who are like, I only like season 1, or that's their best, and I don't think it's the best. There are certain elements that I'm like, over time they lost those that I really miss. One of them being kind of the bleakness of being alone in space, and just that reality that there's no one else around but you feel people. And they start introducing, they don't have aliens, but they introduce other ways to bring about things that are alien-like or monsters of sorts. And I actually really like that. I know there's other fans who that's kind of when they tuned out, but I liked that. And that's kind of in the middle. Season 4, 5, 6, some really, like some of my favorite stuff. And then season 7, there was a very big change. And then from then on, it was constantly in flux, but still enjoyable. Like, I like every season, but from season 7 on, none of them were as good as the previous 6. So, but we're not even through season 1, and so good episode. There's better ones though. So anyway, that's all I got. It's been a long past couple weeks, and so much has been like consuming my attention. Not the least of which, trying to secure work when I move. So there's all the logistical annoyance of moving, like packing and downsizing, but the biggest thing is like finding work before I go, so that way it creates the proper vision. Like going out there without work, I could do it, but man, it might be rough. It might really is not what I want to do. Now, that said, I was talking to someone, a recruiter, about a potential position, and there may be some opportunity, and potentially even making more, actually even potentially quite a bit more than what I make now, all while living in a place where everything's cheaper. So, very intriguing, but like just to have something lined up is the most important thing for me right now. So I'm really hoping and praying that that this opportunity happens, that it's there, and I can go there with full confidence. I'm hoping also that it's in Springfield and not in St. Louis, as it might be in St. Louis, but if the pay is what I think it's going to be worth it, even though I don't want to live in St. Louis. So, because it's a little further away. It's not crazy far away from my girls, but it's definitely further away. And I'll probably live outside the city like I've always done, and just commute. But nonetheless, that that interview, it wasn't really an interview, it was like a pre-interview, was promising and got me hopeful for the possibilities. So we're hoping, we're hoping, because that would not only make me feel more comfortable about things, it would really solidify the reality of it and give me have a firm start date, and then I'd be like, now I know, there's no more up in the air about it. Like, I know exactly when and what I have to do to get to that point, because I know something's waiting for me there, work-wise. So yeah, very hopeful that that goes through, and is what I think it's going to be. So that's occupied a lot of attention, but also just getting ready to move, friggin' singing songs at the studio, officiating weddings, closing out Unconditional Shove, and soon printing and fulfilling. It's a lot, but I'd really have it no other way. I'd rather be busy than stagnant. So it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's just busy. But that's all. That's where we're at. Wherever you are at, and just really quickly, just on the note of Unconditional Shove and wrapping up and the campaign about to close. I mean, we closed out, but it's technically still in demand. But I wanted to just one more time express gratitude to the people who put their money where their mouth is, and their belief in this project and in what we're doing, and people who've signed up for Kill Them Dead or Bastards or bought that. Like, we're some guys, we have a creative spark within us that we want to, creative itch, I guess is a better word, that we just have to create stuff. And it's one thing to create things. It's another thing to know that people out there all across the globe, the idea resonates with them. Or maybe just my personality, I don't know. Like, sometimes I think some people, and that's the nature of modern stuff. Like, I'm on streams, I'm making these videos or whatever, like, you actually get to know your creator in that sense. Meet your maker. Not that kind of creator. Get to know the creator of the artistic thing that you're purchasing. And I think that does help. I think it can also hurt. It is what it is. But regardless, that's the climate we're in, whether you like it or not. But that said, I'm going to make stuff because I love to. But I've always had this idea that I want it to be liked, I want to throw it out to the world and see if it's well received. So a lot of people rolling the dice. Every crowdfunding is a roll of the dice. Not only the project, but just that you're going to get it at all. Like, that is always a roll of the dice. It's always a danger and a reality that, or not a reality, a possibility. So, and it costs more than just like purchasing a comic at your comic shop, or even just buying one off Fantagraphics or Amazon. So it's a strong connection and belief. When I see guys doing like 6-figure campaigns, it's extremely impressive to do that in the crowdfunding model. It's impressive no matter what, but like, when we went over 5K and I'm like, and 100 backers, I'm like, there's 100 people in this world that wanted this. That's crazy to me. Who am I? This is the first thing I've ever done, and I believe in it. I think you're gonna love it. I think it's awesome. It's wild, of course. It's not typical. And hopefully, like in all the good ways, hopefully it doesn't seem derivative. Because we kind of played on the Tales from the Crypt and EC Comics and Eerie and Creepy and all that. And that's inspiration. And, there were certainly touches of that I wanted to have, but overall, it's not like those. This is my unique project, and I had a lot of fun and put in a lot of work, and I hope people like it. And if you don't, you don't. That's fine. But you took the roll of the dice. I think you'll still appreciate it. I don't think you'll feel like you got ripped off, or that it was a waste of money. But it may not be your cup of tea. Blah blah blah. Something like that. But nonetheless, if you did back it, I don't know. It's like eternally grateful. It's you can't put into words the kind of gratitude. But so thank you all, very sincerely. Like I could do this just for the sake of doing it, for my own enjoyment, but it falls short of like knowing and throwing it out there and knowing that other people are interested. So anyway, just a big thank you to everybody. With that, though, we'll end the video. Wherever you're at in life, I hope you're kicking ass and being pure awesome. That you're facing all those obstacles that you have and all those challenges ahead of you with power and courage and conviction and kindness and integrity above all. Don't lie to people. Just be honest. And not only that, but go the extra mile for people. There is I had lunch with, actually, it's my daughter's grandpa, like my ex's dad. But he's still like a father figure to me, and we've maintained a really close friendship for a long time, even after divorce. Which is really cool. Like, he's a great guy, and we had lunch the other day and talk a lot about like weird quantum physics stuff and the interconnectivity, but we also have we talk a lot about consciousness, and then the odd interconnectedness of this world. No matter how at odds we all seem and how much fighting and derision there is daily, like coming back to this reality that we're all human and we're all experiencing a human life at the same time, knowing that we're all born at one time, knowing that we're all going to die at one time. But here we are, occupying the same space at the same time with each other, at least in our consciousness in this world. That means we should do what we can to like make it work. And the best thing we can do as individuals is all those things I like throw out there all the time. Just virtues, basically. Like courage, honesty, truthfulness, integrity, kindness, boldness. All these things that are just kind of like, they're the right way to be. And when you're lacking, it takes effort to make yourself better, but it's a noble pursuit. So let's all strive for that. Let's make this world a better place. There's Jordan Peterson used to talk about heaven and hell, but he would talk about it on this earth, like not like Belinda Carlisle. Those who know. But not like that, but he would say like any situation you're in, any given moment, you're faced with the choice of whether to add a bit of heaven to that situation or a bit of hell to that situation, to somebody else's life, to whatever. And that really like clicked with me, because Jesus would say the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's what he told his apostles to say when they went into a town. That's your preaching model. You go there and you say the kingdom of heaven is at hand, which basically means it's like, I'm giving you heaven. Like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to feed the hungry and clothe the poor, and I'm going to do what I can to leave this world a better place wherever I go. And it's a conscious decision, and it takes a lot more effort. Putting hell onto a situation, for whatever reason, is easier and comes natural. To lie, cheat, and steal to gain an advantage is way easier. It's easier, and it feels natural at times. And there's people who think, well, maybe that's the natural order thing. That's the way you're supposed to be. And that's part of the reason why I got on board with the gospel of Christ, is because I think, yeah, it's natural for us. But there's something about striving to be better. There's something about recognizing that every situation you're going to throw a little heaven or you're going to throw a little hell, and it's your choice. What are you going to choose? And you may be trying and still throwing a little hell, but like there's grace for that. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. But when Jordan Peterson said that, like, actually, like, that clicked with me. That made sense. Like, every situation you're in, you're either gonna make the lives of the people around you and the situation better, or you're gonna make it worse. So that's my motivational talk for the moment. So that's where all the striving comes from. That's where all those virtues are so important, is so that you can walk into a situation and declare the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's at my hand in this situation, and I give it to you. You know, I recognize our common humanity. I recognize that I can give something to you that will make your life better. So let's all strive for that. I've been rambling for too long, so we're going to end this. Until next time, hope the rest of your week is awesome, just pure awesome, and keep those things in mind. And thank you again, everybody who backed Shove, and even if you didn't and you just shared it out there, or you, even just told me the book looks awesome. You know, that everything like that is important, so appreciate you all. Thank you again, especially those of you who backed. It means the world to me. So, anyway, this is Odin. See you later.